Hello, Libby families. I am speaking today to share a little bit about some of the policies that we have developed as a PYP staff as we work to become an IB authorized school. So we actually put together two different policies that really help to guide our work as a PYP staff here at Libby Center. We put together our assessment policy and our language policy. Our assessment policy was built to describe our beliefs around assessment as a school. It was built to share the assessments that we use at each of our grade levels and across the program, and then to establish some common reporting and recording practices. Our language policy was built to describe our beliefs around language learning. It's here to share our common practices in each program and then to outline some supports for staff, students, and families that we have available. So let's start looking a little bit more in depth at our two main policies. First, I do want to say that we developed these policies collaboratively. So during the 2018-2019 school year, we created teacher committees with cross-program representation. So we had teachers from both the Odyssey program and the Spanish Immersion program represented in these committees. And one of our committees was for the assessment policy and one was for the language policy. The committees collaboratively wrote these policies using a couple of different tools and resources. One, there's IB guidance for each policy. There was also a PYP primary years checklist for each policy of things that needed to be included and considered. We went and looked at some sample policies from IB authorized PYP schools, and then we just used our own collective knowledge of assessment. We then shared these policies, these draft policies, to the larger PYP and MYP staff to solicit their feedback. We revised and then sent to our IB consultants for further feedback. And once we had that, we finalized those policies. We do annually revise and review because they are seen as working documents that should reflect, one, our ever-changing student and family population, but also new learning around assessment and language learning. And then we annually revise and review our units of inquiry and the way in which we're implementing the IB program to align with these policies. So the first was our assessment policy. You can find our assessment policy on the Libby webpage. It's linked in this presentation. And if you were to go to the main Libby Center webpage, click on the About tab and go to Our School, you would find the link to the actual assessment policy. Really, our assessment policy is meant to give a definition and philosophy of assessment. So we believe that assessment is the measurement of what students know and can do. Assessment needs to directly inform planning, teaching, and learning. And truly effective assessment places students at the center of this learning. We manage assessment through active partnership and clear communication with all stakeholders. That's teachers, families, and students. And then our work was to develop an assessment policy that serves to reflect our focus and commitment to academic success for all students. The purpose of our assessment is really to provide students and families with clear, timely feedback on student progress regarding all essential elements of the PYP. So you're really looking at each of those pieces. So there's a whole child focus. We're also looking to address critical and higher order thinking skills. We're encouraging student improvement, achievement, and reflection on their own learning and their own progress. Our assessment policy serves to promote and further self-initiated student inquiry and learning. It's meant to help reflect and reevaluate our teaching practices, inform our curriculum review and execution, and help us to better differentiate instruction. We also believe that assessment needs to be authentic, research-based, and meaningful for students and families and staff. We look to provide multiple innovative and authentic measures. So we're never just using one measure. And then it should be a collaborative process, allowing opportunities for teacher, peer, and self-reflection. We do understand that teachers, students, and families are all consumers of the information that comes from assessment. So therefore, in our policy, we've described the role of the student, the teacher, and the family as it relates to assessment. We do have 3 areas of assessment. We have our state tests, which occur in grades 3, 4, and 5. We have our district-directed assessments, which occur at all grade levels to varying degrees. And within the policy itself, you can find a table that delineates which of those assessments occur at which grade level. And then we really have our units of inquiry. Within our units of inquiry, there are 3 types of assessment that you might find. Pre-assessment, to really get a sense of where students are coming from, what knowledge they're bringing with them. We have formative assessments to track progress throughout the unit. And then we have our summative assessments. These assessments include all 5 elements of the PYP: concepts, knowledge, approaches to learning, learner profile attributes, and action. Our assessment policy describes the process by which teachers record and score assessments as well. This includes alignment with IB scoring requirements and our district scoring 1 through 4 on the report cards, as well as the traditional letter grades that our Odyssey students are using. You can see tables within the policy that show this alignment. When we're looking at our summative assessments, it's a collaborative creation by teachers. They introduce the summative assessment rubric throughout the unit and those same expectations to students during the unit of inquiry. Our unit instruction is actually taught with multiple opportunities to practice and multiple formative assessments to guide learning and instruction. And then finally, we have a pretty specific review cycle. So teachers review student work, score accordingly, provide feedback, and return that to students and families. Teachers also collaboratively analyze data to inform their instruction moving forward in the classroom. Each grade level teaching team, which also includes any single subject teachers, such as our specialists who collaborated on the unit, they reflect on the overall effectiveness of the unit, as well as the overall effectiveness of the unit planner based on that end of unit assessment. And so they might make some changes going into the next year or into the next unit to reflect the understanding that students had or have. So that's a little bit about our assessment policy. Let's look into our language policy, which you can also find the full document on our Libby webpage under the About section of our school. So the language policy, like I said, is really to state our beliefs around language learning. So we believe that language is the foundation of all thinking and communicating. It includes the ability to express oneself, reflects our cultural identity, and is essential to the construction of meaning. At Libby, all of our teachers are language teachers, and all of our students are language learners. Each student has their own linguistic background, which makes unique contributions to our learning community. So we commit to provide an inquiry-based learning community and learning environment that promotes and supports this language development. The purpose of our language policy is for our PYP staff to understand the objectives of language learning as we're working to serve students in our varied programs. So our policy serves to achieve a common understanding and consistency of our aims for language learning. It serves to explain how we meet the diverse needs of our students as it relates to their language acquisition. It serves to create a working document that helps guide current and new staff in their practices. It serves to communicate how the mission of Libby Center relates to language acquisition and language development. And then it serves to really convey this language philosophy to parents and other community members. Within the policy, we do talk about the identification of language needs. So any student that registers with Spokane Public Schools who indicates that their mother tongue language or their first learned language is a language other than English is assessed within 10 days of the student's entry into the school district to see if they are eligible for ELD services within our ELD program. So this is something that we do across the board at every school in the district. And it does, if they do qualify for ELD services, it opens up some other supports that we have for them. We do talk about parent support in our language policy. So families are encouraged to continue mother tongue development at home. And we know that as students become proficient in their first language, those skills support second language acquisition and beyond. So within that, we do offer access to books and resources in the mother tongue or in the first learned language. We offer conferences with parents and teachers twice yearly to really connect around this piece. And then we have some working documents of resources for parents to use at home to support language acquisition, whether that's continuing to develop their mother tongue or looking into that second or third language acquisition. In terms of student support, we offer quite a few pieces as well. So to support our Spanish language learners, we provide a variety of programs and resources. There's teacher websites and newsletters with information about what's being taught in the classroom and how to support it at home. We have a partnership and collaboration with local universities to bring bilingual student teachers into our building. Our library and media center contains books in many of our students' mother tongues. These are also books that explore culture and language. Students have access to a wide variety of media in both the minority and majority language and the mother tongue. So we're looking at books, audiobooks, magazines, connections with Spokane Public Library, movies, music, online resources. And then we have some specific supports for our English language learners as well. We have interpreters for conferences and IEP meetings. We have ELD support that's provided by a certified ELD instructor. And then we have some in-classroom strategies and interventions that are aligned with evidence-based best practices. And then finally, we have some staff supports. So within this, we've developed some ongoing structures and systems to support our teachers. We have our Spanish science teacher, we have our Spanish teacher for 4th and 5th grade Odyssey, and then our classroom teachers, and all of them within the immersion program. And all of them support the vocabulary development through songs, repetition, vocabulary, visuals. Our teachers participate in professional development opportunities that are related to language teaching. We have staff meetings twice a month, and we're constantly sending out resources, doing book studies, those sorts of things to help support our staff as well. Towards the end of the policy, we do delineate a little bit between the Odyssey language learning and the immersion language learning. Because the nature of those two programs are so different, we had to have some specific pieces for each. So in terms of our Odyssey language learning policy and practice, the primary language of instruction in Odyssey is English. Through inquiry-based and transdisciplinary instruction, students develop that language literacy and fluency in their primary language. And then through a pull-out model, they develop an additional language, which is Spanish. So in looking at the components of this program, Spanish is that second or even sometimes third language taught to students, and it's offered as a single subject course a couple times a week. Classroom activities during this time focus on listening, speaking, writing skills, and they do include a balance of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning activities. We're using this time to introduce culture and geography, and then we're really using language and integrating it with the school's program of inquiry and our units of inquiry where appropriate. And then further foreign language learning can be supported by the availability of instructional materials for use in students' homerooms. For Spanish immersion, it looks a little bit different because we're teaching language through content integration. So in the immersion program, students are given the opportunity to engage with the core contents while developing that language proficiency in the new language. In terms of our practices, both English and Spanish are used as a vehicle of inquiry-based transdisciplinary instruction. In all grade levels, 50% of instruction is delivered in Spanish and 50% in English. All subjects are taught in both languages, as follows our yearly content allocation plan. Language is seen as a transdisciplinary element throughout the curriculum, and it includes listening, speaking, reading, writing, and media literacy. Teachers of English and Spanish have native or near native language skills in the language that they teach, and they also have to have a knowledge of the other language as well to be able to support that. There is consistent collaboration between teaching team partners to assure the transfer of knowledge from one day to the next, to assure full curriculum coverage, and to effectively bridge those two languages between the classrooms. Grade level teams meet frequently to discuss and plan for instruction in subjects that are taught in both languages. And then language teams across different grade bands meet regularly to discuss proficiency and benchmarks, language acquisition goals, and curriculum development and modifications. And so that's our language policy. If you do go to the Libby webpage, you'll find that there is one more policy on there. It's an inclusion policy. And really that's just looking at our practices and beliefs around ensuring that all students have access to the essential elements of the PYP framework. So you can find that on our Libby webpage as well. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, Kate Hellenthal, your PYP coordinator and principal assistant, or if you have some specific questions around what this looks like for your child at their grade level with their specific teacher, please definitely reach out to your kiddo's teacher, as they'll have more nuanced understanding of what it looks like in their classroom. Thanks so much.